So generative AI is able to make content. So where previous AI was more about understanding, or you'd have a grammar corrector, for example, in like Microsoft Word, generative AI can actually produce content. So you think of it as a program that has a really broad knowledge of pretty much everything in some level, and then a few pockets of really deep knowledge as well. So it's been trained on so much information that it's able to do things like generate new content. So you can have it generate creative things. You can have it come up with 8 story ideas for whatever. Tell me a story about a farm when the chickens took over, and it will come up with 8 different story ideas that are all original. So unlike previous systems, it's able actually to come up with brand new content that hasn't been seen before. It's able to synthesize knowledge. So for example, you can give it a text and ask it, write me an essay about this text. Produce me, which is obviously a little scary for teachers out there. It can generate quite quality essays based on information that's been given. You can give it text, it's able to produce it, answer questions about it, summarize it. It's also able to transform something. So for example, it's able to re-engineer content. So you could give it, for example, the minutes of a meeting and say, I'd like you to write me an agenda for the next meeting that would follow up on that. And so it has a high enough level understanding that it's able to do that kind of deep thinking transformation. Some of the new exciting stuff that's coming out is it's able to analyze data. So some of the new offerings, you can drop in a spreadsheet and say, here, make me a graph of this, answer some questions of this, how many of my students passed? You can ask it, given any bit of information, it's able to answer fairly complicated questions about it. And I would say the last thing to know is it can solve problems. So you can point it at a math problem that it's never seen before, a logic problem, and it's able to work through the steps to figure out the solution. Just as an example, I pointed it at my daughter who is in grade 7, her math problems in French, tell me, explain me the answer in English, and almost every one of them it's able to get correctly. And this is a quickly evolving field, but even at its current level, it's got quite impressive capabilities.
Very cool. Thank you, Clayton. Tanya, what do you feel generative AI can do or not do?
So I'll take the Debbie Downer. Clayton did a really good job of talking about what it could do, and I'll do the wow. I'll do the stuff that it can't do quite as well. So there is still an element of you are working with a machine. So what it can't do is have its own intentions or motivations, and it can't do inferring necessarily, right? So if I was to give a human a task, and maybe I would give them a pretty broad instruction, like, can you please clean the bathroom? A human could go in and see, okay, the bathroom has a shower, a toilet, a sink. I want to clean all these things. But if you were to tell a machine, can you clean the bathroom? Perhaps it would only see the floor as what you want to clean. It doesn't know explicitly what you want from it because it doesn't fully understand your, human mind. And so you have to be really specific, which is why we need people like Clayton, those engineers who can start to get the prompts in a way that communicates well with it. The other problem is, typically a human, if you ask them a question and they don't know the answer, they would perhaps say, I'm not sure, or I'll look into it. They would tell you that they don't know. Unfortunately, the generative AI, what it does today is something called hallucinate. So it will give you an answer, but it's not going to be the right answer if they don't know it. They want to provide you with an output. So they will give you an output, and that output may not be right. So we still need humans to be in there as part of the process, evaluating if what we're getting as far as output from these generative AI systems, that it actually is solving the problems. It does not get rid of the need for subject matter experts or people who are reviewing and tweaking the content coming from generative AI. because, you know, it still is limited. Some examples of this is, you know, where we have a tool at LearnExperts called Leah, which is LearnExperts AI, and it helps us generate content for creating some of our learning content. So one that I use pretty frequently is it generates our test questions for us. But, you know, there's times where, you know, in a multiple choice question, the question will be of great quality. It's based on the instructional text that the AI has evaluated to generate the question from. But sometimes the distractors are actually still correct answers. And see, the system doesn't know that that's also a correct answer because all it is basing it on is the information that you've given to it. So you definitely, it's not going to read your mind. It's not like a person. You still need those experts to come in and do those evaluations. So there's definitely still limitations. And I know in the media, there's a lot of talk about it's going to come, it's going to take all of our jobs, you know, there's no need for humans, here comes AI. But it's just simply not the case. If you've actually looked at the models and looked at the output, it's pretty remarkable what it can do, but we still need those experts. We still need those humans. And Clayton actually brought this when we were preparing for this webinar. He said, you know, AI is not going to take your job, but perhaps someone using AI is. So it's important that we all get on board and understand what it can and can't do so that we can use it effectively in our roles.